Hey Slayers, this is Coach Felicia. We're counting down the top 5 episodes of 2022. Here's number 5, episode 168, The Journey Behind the Business with Courtney McCullough Robs. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. I am here with Courtney McCullough Robs from Virtuous Boss. Hey, Courtney, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I'm excited about this conversation because one, we have a mutual friend that connected us. Yes. Two, it's all about God's timing, right? Because when she connected us, I had I guess it ain't random no more, but it felt random initially that I happened to be looking at your page and was just like, oh, this is so cool. And then I don't know, maybe like a week later, our friend introduces us and I'm like, what are the odds? But that is the way the Lord works. So yes. I'm glad that we were connected and I'm just looking forward to this conversation. So can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Okay, let's see. Well, first, I'm of course a daughter of God, a lover of God. I'm a wife and a mother of 4 kids I have that are the spectrum of adolescence. So I have a freshman in college. I have a 15-year-old son, an 8-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old daughter.
Oh yeah, so, you hitting all.
Yes, absolutely. And they keep me on my toes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I can imagine.
Yes. And as far as my story, it started a while back. I went to Temple University and majored in business with a focus in marketing. And I love fashion. I had a passion for fashion. I just knew I was going to be in the fashion industry and in New York City. And on graduation day, I had a 3-month-old daughter.
Oh.
So that kind of put a little different spin on things.
Yeah.
I had a job offer in New York City in the fashion industry, doing what I loved and wanted to do. But I decided that it would definitely be a better, I had a better chance at being a single mother in Maryland back at home where I had a support system. And they were paying pennies compared to what you need to survive in New York City.
Yeah.
So I came back home. I worked in retail for a few years and then I started teaching. And I was shocked that I loved it. So I started teaching business to high school students. And one of the things that I taught was entrepreneurship. And I made it a big deal. We would go the whole 9 yards. They would develop a business plan. We had a business plan competition. By the end, I think the students were winning like $2,500. The winner would win $2,500 of seed money for their business. So
nice.
Yes. And so that was interesting, and God prepping me without me knowing, because I was even talking to my kids. I signed them up for speech and debate, and they are both. My son is never lively. He is just a low-key, chill kid, never any problems.
I got one of those. Yep.
My daughter is, when she's out in school, her teachers say she needs to talk more, basically. And I've never heard any teacher tell a kid that they need to talk more.
Yeah, so, that's surprising.
Yes. And so I signed them up for speech and debate so they can get acclimated to talking in front of a group of people and they don't, break out in sweat. Just the more you do something, the more you get used to it. And I told them, I said, I hated talking in front of people. But when you are a teacher, that's what you do all day long.
Yes.
Yes. And so I, without knowing, God was prepping me for the next level and the level after that. I have students that I still keep in touch with. In fact, I went to the Jonathan McReynolds and Molly music concert with one of my old students from 2011 this week. And so I say that to say that those seeds that I planted years ago, because I taught for 11 years, they are coming to fruition now. Yeah. My website was built by one of my old students. So I have students that have started their own businesses, and they are doing phenomenal.
Yes.
So that of course makes me feel good. And then a little bit longer down the road, I switched careers and I'm in sales now, and I work in higher education. And again, one of my fears, or maybe I shouldn't call it a fear. One thing that makes me really uncomfortable is small talk. And what I do now in sales, that's how you can't,
it's all surface. So it's just real, just on the top level.
Yes. And so I said, okay, I knew once I got used to the folks, that was not a problem. Doing presentations, I can knock that out the park, but just that initial knocking on the door, hi, that just made me a little sick to my stomach. But again, the more you do something, the more you step out your comfort zone, the better you feel about it. And so during this time, and I'm still in that position, during this time, God planted Virtuous Boss in me. And it's so funny because I even said to him, because this job, when I switched careers, I mean, it wiped me out. Like I would be up 11, 12 o'clock at night working. It was crazy. And I said, Lord, you giving me this thing to do, and I don't have time. Like, I just feel like, when would I do it? I said, for all these years I taught, and because when you first start teaching, you do stay late. But then once you get the ropes, it's like that bell ring, you stay your exit 20 minutes, you're out the door. I had that down to a science.
Yeah.
So I had a lot more extra time. And I said, well, why would you give this to me now when I can't? It feels like I don't have room for it. So you weren't ready for it then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as public speaking, as far as my heart had to be softened. And working with those kids, that hurt. I had to be humbled, because Lord knows I was the far opposite of humble.
Yeah.
So, he just continued to work on in areas that needed to be sharpened. He sharpened those from college to now. And so I started Virtuous Boss. And Virtuous Boss is a grown-up version of what I did in the classroom. I help people write their business plans and start and maintain their own small businesses. Yeah, so the first event that I threw, I called a brunch shop. So we had brunch, and it was a workshop, and we just talked about the promises of God. And what I found is that although I love fashion and I have a passion for fashion, there's a limit to how much I could sit and talk to you about it. But if I had to sit and talk to you about God and his purpose for you, and how he put you in certain situations so that you can do this magnificent thing that he is destined you to do. And for a lot of times it is starting some type of business where you are feeding and servicing your community.
Yeah.
And I can talk about that all day long.
Yeah.
And so it's funny how, as I matured, not just in life, but in my spirit, man, how my passions have shifted towards him and what he wants me to do. Yes.
Listen, there is so as I'm sitting here listening, I know, oh my goodness, I always say, whenever I'm doing these recordings, regardless of when the episode airs and when other people hear it, there is something about God intentionally making sure that I have these conversations at a specific time when it is definitely necessary for me in that moment, right? And I know it'll, I know always that doing this podcast, it always starts with me, and then those that listen to it will receive something from it as well. But one of the things that you said that was sticking with me is that how every step of the way he was preparing you for this, and how all the things that you thought you should be doing, or the things that you thought were the easiest thing, or the things that you thought that you do love, they were passions, are completely different from your purpose. Because your purpose you can do regardless. Your purpose you can do without effort. It costs you nothing. It is something that you just continue to want to pour out of. Like, that is something you can do endlessly. It doesn't make you tired. Even when you are tired, you will still just like, but I have to keep going. And it is one of those things that it makes you have to just like hone in and focus on just that. And so that right there just blessed me. So thank you for that.
Oh, you are welcome. You're welcome. So, and it's so funny because I'm thinking people probably listening, or you're probably listening, saying to yourself, man, you sure you had a problem talking in front of people? Because I can rap now. Don't get it twisted. I can rap and get on the road, but I have a plan to retire from my 9 to 5 by the time I'm 45.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like 4 years and a couple months.
Okay.
My overall goal with myself, and what I try to plant seeds in other people, is to have multiple streams of income, because you don't want to lose one job and then you're out.
Yep.
And once you go through your savings, you're done. So the multiple streams of income, I love to see people win. So it was amazing how God birthed that in me, and where we are today, just trucking along and taking baby steps, because Lord knows that's all I have the capacity to do right now.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing about it is that one of the things that you said, the other thing that you said was that you didn't think you had time because everything else was filling up your time, right? However, like when you're walking in purpose and it is God ordained, he will create the space. That's not a question you have to wonder or ask yourself about, because he will create it, and he will give you the energy for it, right? To be able to do it. Where if it's you doing something in your own strength and it's on whatever you want, then it's completely different. Then you really are, it's a struggle, and you're stretching yourself, versus he's giving you this assignment, and now you are in a place of like, oh no, I can do this. This is and it refuels you. I remember when I started my small groups, when Slaying Self-Doubt first came about, I wasn't even sure what it was supposed to be. Like when he gave me the name Slaying Self-Doubt, I was just like, what is this? Like, I have no idea. I was just like, okay, but it started with my small groups, and I went from one group of 11 women to 3 groups of 11 women, and then coaching. And I'm talking about it. I was in that thing. So I understand when you say, I don't have time for this. Like, it was like, how did I make space? But it was something that filled me, and I was excited for it. And I wanted to do it. I wanted to watch people be a part of what it is God was doing in other people's lives. And so, even though I would come home from a 12-hour workday, I'm like, oh, I got small group at 8:30, y'all. I see y'all at 10, right? I'm giving somebody else another hour and a half of my time, where on every other day I'm just like, oh, I just need to go to sleep, right? But on these days I was like, let's go. So as you just kind of in sharing your story and just all the kind of the transitions that you made to get to where you are right now, how has self-doubt showed up in your journey?
Well, see, I am an A-type person, a very organized. So switching careers and starting with little to no knowledge of my job responsibilities and everything that had to be done on a daily basis. The folks in my position like to say that you're drinking from a water hose every day, or that you're trying to eat. You can't eat an elephant in one bite. You just got to do it in small bites. So it's overwhelming. And during this time, what I realized is that I would listen to people talk and that were knowledgeable about the job, what they were doing, and I would shrink back. And I would shrink back because, and I have to kind of reflect on it to say, okay, are you shrinking back because you feel small, because you don't have the knowledge they have? Are you shrinking back because you're trying to learn? But even if you're shrinking back because you're trying to learn, that's a problem. Because I shouldn't have to make myself small to learn.
Yeah. And yes.
I was really fighting that battle because, again, I like to know what I'm doing. I like to have a process. And for 3 years, I didn't, because I was just learning the job, learning all of these things. And I had to do a lot of positive self-talk and reinforce that although this is difficult, it won't always be this way. There's something bigger than what I can see taking place in me. And I had to really take all that into consideration and focus on trying to get myself to be as confident and sure about myself in the areas where I was not exceeding as much as I am when I'm sitting here talking to you about God and what He's done for me and how He can do the same thing for you and your business. And that was a shift. That was a shift. And the question I kind of asked myself, okay, this is going to happen again. Like, no, if I live long enough, I'm going to be in a position again where I'm going to be in a room of people who know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, and I'm going to have no knowledge of whatever that thing is that they're talking about. But what am I going to do about it in that moment? Am I going to shrink back, or am I going to show up my 100% authentic self and be okay with that? I don't need to know what everybody else knows. I need to know what God needs me to know so I can walk in what He called me to walk in.
Yes. Oh,
and
man.
It's so easy to say, but it's a lot harder to do in the moment. So it's just something that I'm trying to work on and practice and hone in so that when that moment comes up again, I'm ready.
This episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast is sponsored by Mama's Mastering Money, the Society. Slayers, are you a woman looking to change your relationship with money? Do you want to break generational cycles of poverty, scarcity, and lack of money mindsets? Are you constantly struggling to get your finances in order? Do you feel like you're not good with money? Or does talking about money make you feel anxious and uncomfortable? If so, Mama's Mastering Money, the Society may be right for you. Mama's Mastering Money is a membership community led by money and mindset coach Tiffany Burns. Coach Tiffany and her membership help you unlearn negative or limiting money beliefs, overcome the fear of facing your finances, and build confidence to take impactful actions. Shifting your money mindset, unlearning decades of money beliefs, and shedding bad financial habits like procrastination, self-doubt, and overspending takes time, patience, support, and grace. In this safe haven for purpose-driven women, you will get the encouragement, motivation, coaching, and techniques to change your money story for you and generations to come. Slayers, if this membership is just what you need, go to www.thelotuslegacy.co/slay and join before January 1st, 2023 to get the limited founding members pricing. That's www.thelotuslegacy.co/slay. SLAY. And thank you, Coach Tiffany and Mama's Mastering Money, for sponsoring this episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. Now, back to the show. No, you're absolutely right. It is when because I do this, right? And it's so funny because I was just having a conversation with my mentor about the fact that how the enemy will use the very thing that is so obvious, of how you pour into other people is the thing that he uses to attack you. He uses to, like you said, make you shrink, to make you dim your light. And I was like, although my logical mind knows that, and I'm clear, like it is literally in the title, slaying self-doubt. That is the thing that I right. It's like that is the thing that I struggle with. And there's moments where it doesn't shrink me and it doesn't make me dim my light. But there's other moments where it's like it's too much. And I think it has to, for us when we're doing this, because the other part about it is that when you have I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes when I feel that way, but I'm also teaching someone else or coaching someone else or sharing with someone else how that's not the way to go, it makes me feel like, like, girl, you was fluke because you don't even take your own advice.
Girl, yeah, absolutely. But in those moments too, when you're ministering to somebody else, a lot of times you're talking to yourself too.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. But what I try to think about is, and remind myself is, one, I'm in this room for a reason. If everybody in this room has the same knowledge and I don't, that reinforces the fact that I'm here for a reason. So I'm not here to talk about what they're talking about. I'm here for another reason, and that may be just to simply pray for someone. And when you think, and I have, the other thing is that this happens in corporate America. This is the only time I feel this way. But where is God in corporate America?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what he is calling me to do. He's not calling me to come in that room and talk about X, Y, and Z and numbers that everybody else. He's calling me to go in there and do his work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so true. It is, it really is about understanding the assignment, no matter where you are, right? Because the calling on your life and what it is that you are purposed to do, it doesn't matter whose room you're in, right? And I think when we forget that because we're in this space, we can't truly be who it is. No, he's calling you to be who you are every single day, every single time, at home, at work, at the grocery store, at church, in your business, at the kids' activities, whatever it is, that is us living authentically, right? And so no, I told you, girl, this right here, I'm over here like, no, this is for me. Okay, so what have you learned about yourself doing this journey that you didn't know before?
Oh, that is good. That's good. Of course, I still have fears. I still have things that, and I should not say fears. It's not a fear. I have things that I'm just uncomfortable doing. I was uncomfortable talking in front of people. I became a teacher. I was uncomfortable with small talk. I started working in sales. And now what I'm facing is that I'm being told, Lord help me, that in order to build my brand, I need to go on live on social media. And that thing right there, I have talked myself out. And it's so funny how God will present you with a challenge and you would just talk. And because it's a challenge and it's stepping out your comfort zone, shouldn't say you. I will talk myself out of it.
No, me too. You can say you. You can say you. And there's a couple of us on this listening to this. You can say you because you talking to us, okay?
Yeah, I was saying to myself, well, do I even really need social media? I can just simply do this thing word of mouth and we can work it that way. And of course I can post every now and then. Just all these things. What am I really doing it for? Am I doing it for it? Like just talking myself. I was rational. I'm going through the motions of why this is unnecessary, but building a case for it.
Yeah, I call it disqualifying yourself. Like you were disqualifying why you needed it. and on top, so the thing is that
Mm-hmm.
we are disqualifying the assignment that God has given us, because this ain't come from somebody else randomly.
Yeah.
He tell us something, you're like, well, Lord, I don't really need to do that. What I let me, okay, I know you said that, but what if I do?
Yes.
And the thing about it is that, okay, if we believe and we know that he's all knowing, there's a reason why we're supposed to do it. There's a reason why. And so when you go around, at the end of the day, you're going to end up doing it. It sooner or later, it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
because
yeah.
that is the assignment. But it's funny that, you know, it is comforting to know I'm not the only person that be like, are you sure with this? You don't really mean that. What you meant for me to do.
Right.
You want me to just write this?
Really,
I can do a reel and write out the words. Is that the same thing? Can I just make a quick video and post? No? Oh, okay.
You are in my head. You are in my head. Yes. Just trying to work around that thing. It's
and so
crazy.
When those moments come up for you, when you know that you are trying to, you know, disqualify it or rationalize it in your head to say, like, is this really what I'm supposed to do? What are some practical steps that you do to kind of get yourself out of that space?
It's funny that you said sometimes you're sharing information with someone and you're thinking to yourself, girl, you fluke because you're not following that same advice. But my advice to someone, if I was talking to myself, I would say, you are holding up someone else's progress.
Ooh.
You have something that somebody is waiting for, and then they are waiting for this life. But how many months are you going to put this off? You're holding up maybe someone's salvation, someone's breakthrough, someone's deliverance, but it is tied to me and it's tied to this Instagram live, but you're holding it up. So what I usually tell folks is that whatever God has called you to do, is many souls tied to that thing. And so, listen, it's so easy to say it, it's so hard to do it.
No,
it's in the atmosphere now, so I got to do it, right?
Well,
they're going to say, look, did you do that yet?
Right, because now you said it out loud, right? And so that is the thing that I have learned, that I say it out loud, not only to myself, but I will tell somebody else, and I will say, okay, so the Lord gave me this, and I need you to hold me accountable. So it is one of those things that when it happens and when it comes up, it's like, I can't do nothing with it because now I already said it. Even when I started the podcast, God put it on my heart, and I would mention it like, yeah, I'm gonna do this podcast. And then I would get people around me, people who God was building a part of my community, and they would be like, so when you supposed to be doing this podcast? I thought you was doing it. Then some weeks ago by, I'm like, I am. Then some weeks ago by, nothing would happen. Felicia, I thought you was starting the podcast. And I would be like, why did I even say anything? But it was that encouragement, but the reminder that it was needed and that somebody needed it. And like you said, I'm a firm believer that our obedience is connected to somebody else. So when you say that, I know the blessings that have come from me using my voice and me using this platform for, almost 3 years. Had I sat on it any longer, I even know the blessings that came from it for me, just from opening my mouth and doing what I was supposed to do. So it's like, what if I had waited even longer? Because a lot of times we say, oh, somebody else already doing that. There's enough people doing this. I don't need to be an extra. You see some, like I was starting to see, especially when I started this, I was starting to see so many people do podcasts. And they would just, like, people around me, I'm like, dang, they started this. They got like 100,000 downloads like the first day. Like, Lord, you sure you want me to do this? Like, and I would just be like, but this is your assignment, Felicia. This is what you were supposed to do. And I just need you to show up. So, Courtney, I'm going to hold you accountable. So, this is also because, coach to coach, I'm going to ask you, like, when do you want to set this goal? We won't do it live on the air, but don't worry about that. I'm going to wait afterwards to ask you. So when you want me to check back in, because I'm going to be waiting, sis. I'm going to be waiting.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
And you were asking about, in addition to that lesson, that there's still going to be some things that I have to conquer and overcome. I've learned to tame my tongue because it was wild. It was absolutely wild. And to have some decorum. And again, I want to make sure that anyone who encounters me has a positive encounter, that they feel like they were built up. And the last, which is probably the most important, I've learned the power of no. Because I shouldn't say I'm a yes man. I'm not a yes man in the traditional sense. I'm a yes man because I like to see people win. If you need my help with anything, my answer is always yes. And of course, you're not going to have time. When you say yes to everything, you can't say yes to God's best. I think that's Lisa TerKeurst's saying. And I was saying, because of my heart, I was saying yes to everyone and everything, and burnt out. So of course you're not going to have time for ministry. Of course you're not going to have time for what God called you to do, because your hand is in so many pots and you can't. Cooking a Thanksgiving dinner is a skill set, because you got 15 different things going on at the same time. That's something legit. I never cooked Thanksgiving dinner until I think 2 years ago. It wiped me out, because you gotta practice that thing. Usually we got 2 sides in the main dish. That's it. But when you got 15 different things going, it's hard to do everything in fidelity. It's hard to do everything in excellence. So I've just learned that I've just recently had a situation, several situations where I know these folks needed me. And that's when you're talking about people to hold you accountable and having a tribe that has your back. My friends will just say, hey, you can't do that. No, go ahead and tell them no, because they know me. They know I'm going to say yes. And they know when springtime comes, I'm going to be trying to do 15 different things and overwhelmed. And so my husband, same thing. He will always no. He'll say no before I even finish telling him the situation. Because they know me. But I have learned that, of course, I have more peace. Into some things, of course, I got to mull over. I got to take the guy and get his answer on. But some things are just real simple. Like, I don't even know how I would have time to do this. Like, no.
No, and I think that the power of your no is so important, right? And I've learned that and I think it's something, we have a tendency to just say, I understand what you're saying. Like, I'm not a yes woman, but if I can help and I feel like I can fix it, I'm gonna do it. Like I immediately go into, some of that is mom, some of that is protector, some of that is just being a woman and being a nurturer. But I had to learn that I don't have the capacity for everything. And I, in this journey, this slaying self-doubt journey of my own, I have learned that saying yes to somebody else is saying no to yourself. And I would find myself depleted so many times. Like, I don't know why I'm so tired, but I got 11 things on my plate that belong to other people. And then I had to learn to say, no, does that serve me? No, it doesn't. It doesn't serve me. It's not that I don't want to go. It's not that I don't want to support. It's not that I don't want to be there. No, I just do not have the capacity to do that. I'd rather rest. I'd rather, sleep. I'd rather like whatever it is. And I think that just comes from learning that it's okay. It's okay to say no. And, I tell my clients all the time, no is a complete sentence, because I used to say no and then explain the 11 things I got going on to like qualify it. Like, this is the reason. It's not that I don't want, no, I don't want to. Right. And I've shared this on here plenty of times. My cousins and my sister, they call me the queen of no. And really, if they think about it, I don't say no to everything they say, but usually no is my first answer. And then I will think about it. Versus yes being like, I'm down, and then changing my mind and being like, I need to know all the steps. Like, is it really going to work? Can I really do this? Does it benefit me? Is this, is this draining? Is this going to fill me up? Like, what else do I have going on in the week? Is it something that I need? Because sometimes we say no to things that we actually need, right? Like we need that time with our girlfriends. We need that time to ourselves. And as women, as moms, as, working, whether you're working a 9 to 5, you have entrepreneurship, running these businesses, like we're leading all over the place. There are times that we need for ourselves. And once I recognized how important that was, I felt even better about saying no. So
absolutely. And that's the thing, we can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yes, you're asking me to do this, but if there is no balance, well, you don't even want me on this task. Trust me, if I can't get filled up over here, there's no way I can do a good job with you.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about Virtuous Boss. So you talked about how you kind of got started with it. Let's just tell the listeners, like, what could they expect? What is it that you do within this business?
Yeah, so one thing about it is the Bible says that you got to write it down and make it plain.
That's
and
right.
That is my motto for Virtuous Boss. And that a lot of people want to start businesses, but they don't have a business plan. And so that's always my first question to folks. Well, do you have a business plan? Okay, well, why not? And so that's my first step. We're always going to sit down and talk about and work on your business plan, because there's a lot more than just starting a website and selling something on a website. For starters, if you have no idea how much it costs for that item and how much shipping is and how much it costs to run the website, if you don't understand your overhead and everything that you have to pay out every month, regardless of how many units you sell, you're always going to be in the red. And so I always like to start with the money part, because that's what people are most interested in. Okay, but now we got the money down. Let's talk about marketing. Let's talk about all these other components that you don't necessarily think about. But when you focus and you sit there and start writing these things out, you've laid out a roadmap for yourself.
Yeah.
And for your business and setting goals. So the first thing that Virtuous Boss does is that I offer a course where I help folks write their business plan.
Okay.
And it's similar to how it was run before in the classroom. And at the end, we have a business plan competition. What I like is that you can win. If you win the business plan competition, you can win your investment pack. So plus a little extra. So everything you spend in taking the class, you can win that back, as well as, some additional funds and seed money for your business. So I always believe in incentives. Along the way, within that same course, there's smaller competitions that you can compete in for other prize money. And I don't know what speaks to people more than prize money. So,
right, that's facts.
So not only are you getting something done for your business that is an absolute must, you can win some money doing it. So it's a win-win situation. Either you end up with a wonderful business plan, laying out what your next steps are, which is the worst case scenario, which is still awesome and what you signed up for.
Yeah.
In the best case scenario, you win your money back and some more money, and you got this wonderful business plan. And then I have some folks that said, okay, I know I want to start a business, but I don't know what it is, but I do want to learn more about entrepreneurship. And so I offer a course that just lays down the foundation of entrepreneurship. So you don't necessarily know what you want to do, but let's talk about business. Let's talk about what it looks like. So I have the entrepreneurship one-on-one course, and then I have the how to start your business one-on-one, which is the business plan, writing the business plan and coaching them through that, and then the business plan competition. As well as events that so far I talked about the brunch shop. I held a girls' night in sleepover at the beginning in January of 2020, because this is, so 2020. Yeah, well, we looked at our goals, and again, coming together as a tribe to say, I know you said you wanted to do this in January. It's June. Where are you with this? So a way to hold each other accountable, to establish our goals for the year, And so additional events will happen in 2022. I always have an idea of what they're going to be. And then when I sit down in my computer and I start working on it, God just downloads what he wants it to be. So even when I started working on Virtuous Boss in January of 2019, I started with all types of things. And then the next thing I knew, he was just downloading everything for the brunch shop. And so we'll see what's in store for 2022, but I will definitely run the 2 courses, the Entrepreneurship 101 and the How to Start a Business 101.
That is awesome.
Yes, and then I also do one-on-one coaching. I've gotten some interest for teenagers, so I may try to run a camp, a week-long summer camp in the summer, helping teenagers start, which that's where we need to be with the teenagers and the next generation, because these kids have some wonderful, amazing ideas.
Yes.
And we just need to help facilitate that learning and what they need to do in order to get these things off the ground. But that may be something else that's in the works if I can garner up enough interest for the summer of 2022.
Oh, yes. I love the fact that you are planning ahead, right? And that we are, yes, we are in Q4 of 2021, but that is how we move forward, right? And, in being able to see what the next thing is. And so this was such a amazing conversation, and I was already looking at you. I told you, because this is divine intervention, because I was already looking at your website before we was connected, and I was like, oh, I know that this is something that I need, because for myself it was very much so like I'm just moving on what God told me to do. This was not supposed to be a business. Like, that's not how it started, right? And so sometimes when you're moving forward, all those things that you were just saying, I was like, yeah, that's me. That's me, because I just went into it just like, this is my assignment and this is what the Lord called me to do. So I'm just going to do that part, right? But I just thank you. I thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for just being honest and being transparent. That's one of the things that I love about this show, is that a lot of times people see us doing these things and it looks glamorous, or it looks like we're moving and shaking, but sometimes you don't recognize the struggles that we're having, or the things that we're having, uncomfortability with, or whatever our self-doubt may show up in certain situations. And I think it allows for people to be able to see that we're human first, right? And if we can do it, so can you.
Amen. Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast to run my mouth for 40 minutes.
You are so welcome. So before we end, how can people connect with you if they are interested in either your events or the coaching or the courses? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram and Facebook, I am His Virtuous Boss, and I can be emailed at Courtney@hisvirtuousboss.com.
Yes, and y'all already know all the information will be in the show notes. So you can definitely make sure that you get connected with her. Thank you so much, Courtney. I appreciate you. And I cannot wait to see your lives, girl.
Yes. Yes, indeed. I know they're coming. Like I said, hold me accountable.
Oh, you don't even have to worry about that.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.